good.
Hey, welcome to Thursday Night Live at CCVT. We are so excited that you joined us, whether you're joining us on YouTube or on the live stream on the website. We are just pumped you're here. Welcome. In a few minutes, I am going to make some announcements, but first we want to get your group talking a little bit. We want to get the group in here, kind of talking in little groups, and Halloween is coming up on Saturday, and that's exciting. And really, we just want to have a Halloween-themed best and worst. So there's going to actually be a little slide that probably covers up my face right now. But we want you guys to talk about best and worst in these categories. What are the best and worst Halloween candies? The best and worst Halloween costume from your past? And the best and worst Halloween tradition or thing that kind of happens on Halloween. So go for it. Take a couple minutes in your family group. If you're by yourself, feel free to text us your answers. But best and worst Halloween candy, best and worst Halloween costume from your past, and best and worst Halloween tradition and thing. Go. Welcome back. If you want to continue talking, that's totally cool. I was hearing a lot of candy corn for worst and none for best. I love candy corn. But
it's a gift from heaven.
It is. Anybody like in this room right now, what was your best Halloween candy?
Hershey candy bar.
Hershey's candy bar, just regular.
Yeah, just regular Hershey candy bars.
What about the Hershey or the Reese's Cup pumpkins? Like the
Yes.
those are far superior to the regular Reese's Cups.
Take 5.
Take 5. If you've never had a Take 5, like you should come to the campus house right now and get one out of the candy thing. It's awesome. Anybody got a funny worst Halloween costume?
I was a skunk.
Tanner was a skunk. That's pretty awesome.
I can't beat that.
Pretty cool. My worst is my mom made me into a robot one year. Made a robot costume for me and used a big box, and the box went down way down to my feet, and I couldn't go upstairs, and so I would just trip and fall, and I just was laying on the ground as a box robot the whole night. What about that Halloween tradition or thing that you hate, or best or worst? Anybody got one? Somebody said they don't like it when you go up to get candy and something jumps out at you or there's something scary. They just want to get the candy, and that makes sense. I mean, that's a good call. Like I like that one.
That's the trick.
But hopefully you had a cool conversation. You'll keep talking throughout the night. We are so excited because tonight Brandon Botset's going to be speaking. And we're going to pray for him in a few minutes, and he's going to come up and share with us in our Deep End series. This is week 3, and we're talking about anxiety and stress. And so we are just so excited about that. But first, I just want to give you a couple announcements. Afterwards, you'll see this announced on our Facebook page. You can go into a Zoom meeting after this, starting at 8:30. And we have some people, students that are on our prayer team that are going to be there. And if you just want somebody to pray with, someone to talk to, someone to just pray for you or with you, you can jump into that Zoom room, and they're going to be praying for students the whole time. But they would love for you to jump in and pray and ask for prayer at that. And that information is on our Facebook page, and so you can check that out. Also on Sundays, things that we do every week, we meet here at the campus house at 10:30 to carpool to Belmont Christian Church. We'd love for you guys to come with us. Meet here at 10:30. We usually don't leave till about 10:45 to go to the 11:15 service at Belmont. We'd love for you guys to jump in and join us at that. Also, we have a bunch of Bible studies throughout the week. A lot of them are going through Genesis. On Tuesday night, there is a women's Bible study here that's just going awesome, going through the book of Genesis. On Wednesday night, there's a Bible study for guys here at the campus house. We also have a Wednesday night Bible study going through Genesis on Zoom. For those who are not in the area, or if you don't want to actually come to the house, you can just jump on online. And there's also a women's Bible study on Monday nights led by one of our students, Beth. And it's an awesome Bible study. It's 7 on Monday nights, and we're posting about those every week, so check that out. Also on this Saturday, there's going to be a group that's meeting at 9 in the morning here to pray together and go for a run. So if you love running and you want to jump into that, please come here Saturday at 9 a.m. A big one that's coming up is maybe a lot of you came to Throwback Thursday where we had 80s night and we had worship and dinner at Belmont Christian Church just a couple weeks ago. And that was just an awesome time where we all got to be together. There wasn't a bunch of family groups meeting all over the area. We met all together, and that was exciting. We're doing the next one on November 12th, okay? So November 12th, we're going to go back to Belmont. We're going to have dinner. We're going to have worship. It's going to be awesome. And we decided just before we went live that on November 12th, we're going to go Christmas themed, okay? Because you guys, a lot of you go home for Thanksgiving break and everything else is online. We are going to have a Christmas party, Christmas themed, wear that ugly sweater, wear that Christmas suit, whatever you want to jump into, and we are going to have Christmas at Belmont for Throwback Thursday worship. And then the last thing is the most important thing, I think. Tomorrow, Friday, 5 to 7. I don't know, maybe it is. Is it? Yeah. Everybody in the back is just like, I don't know. We are having a Halloween party tomorrow here at the campus house in the lawn. It's going to be outside, socially distanced, bring a mask, 5 to 7, maybe 8, who knows. Might even mess around and go to 9. These campus house guys, they party. The staff will be home way before that. And, you know, the staff's going to be home in time for Jeopardy, but you can stay and party. But Halloween party, 5 to 7 tomorrow. There's going to be a family bringing homemade soup. We're going to have soup. We're going to have bonfires. We're going to have movies playing. Bring your own pumpkin. We'll have some extra pumpkins here. You're going to get to paint a pumpkin. We want you to wear costumes. There's going to be a costume contest. And I'm just telling you, my family is going to win. And so if you want to win, you better come strong. And so, wear a costume, come to the Halloween party, bring friends. It's going to be an awesome night. And so, anything else? That it? We did it? Okay. Well, hey, I'm going to bring Brandon up here, and I am going to pray for you.
Sure.
Yeah, that's lovely. Unless
That works.
some other lovely person was going to pray for you. I
I
don't know.
forgot to ask him.
Hey, well, I'll do it. Hey, this is Brandon. Brandon's going to be speaking tonight, and I'm very excited about that. And so let's just pray for Brandon, and he's going to jump into it. God, we just thank you so much for this night. We thank you for your love. We thank you for your grace. God, we thank you that we get to jump into the deep end together and talk about things that are heavy, things that are tough, things that are difficult, but things that we all go through and people we love go through. God, I just pray for Brandon right now. I pray you lead him. I pray you guide his words. I pray as he is prepared all this week and last week for this moment, I pray that you just bring those words to his heart. And I pray, God, that the promise in Isaiah 55, that your word will go out and it will accomplish what it purposes. It has a purpose tonight, that it will go out into the hearts of students and into our lives, and your Holy Spirit would move powerfully. God, thank you so much for Brandon's willingness to serve in this way and to share in this way. Bless this night, God. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I like the shirts.
Yeah, we all decided to match tonight. If you can't see this, but we're all wearing this shirt. There's like 4 or 5 of us in the room right now. So to get started tonight, I want to start with some good news. If you don't know, about 19 days ago, well actually exactly 19 days ago today, I had the honor of marrying my best friend. Brittany Kinslow, I love you if you're watching. Soon to be Brittany Botset, one day soon. But it was a wonderful day. We had a lot of fun. I will always remember it. I hope that we can say we both couldn't be happier. I don't know about you, Brittany. I'm pretty happy. Now, as someone who works in ministry... Thank you, Mike. As someone who works in ministry, I am actually contractually obligated to use my wedding and my new marriage in every single sermon for like the next year, at least. There's many examples for the foreseeable future. So prep yourselves for that. Every time you hear me talk, marriage. So yeah, just get prepped. But tonight as we talk about stress and anxiety, that's our real topic tonight. I kind of feel like it fits pretty well. Because if anyone tries to tell you that weddings aren't stressful or anxiety-inducing, they are lying to you. While it is a beautiful thing, and we had a lot of fun, the weeks leading up to the wedding are rough. There's a lot to get done. But let's just say, so that we can kind of visualize it, that this is all of the stress that came from the wedding, all contained in this tennis ball. Now, there are a lot of other things in life that cause stress. And it's not like we magically got here to the wedding. You know, we had lives before that had other things that popped up. If we kind of all agree, stress really starts for you to understand what that means, or anxiety really starts for you around middle school, high school time. That's when it really starts to set in. So you're in high school, you got to get good grades. So you got other things happening. And then you got to actually start thinking about, am I going to join any sports? Am I going to join any clubs? And I got to make sure I keep up those good grades while I'm doing those things. You got to look good because, ladies, guys, you're starting to think about dating. It's not one, that's fine. Then you got to actually start applying for colleges. Then you got to think, am I going to pick a major? Which college am I going to go to? More applications. You got to start thinking about all those different majors. Then you got to start looking at jobs, internships, summer jobs, all that kind of stuff. Then get past that point. Then you get to jobs. Then you get to teams within those jobs. Then you start to think about keeping up with those old friends, getting up with that new boss so that you can get those promotions. Then you got to move into the city. Then you got to think about all the money that you're spending. Then you got to buy that house. Then you realize you can't afford that house, so you got to get roommates. And then if you get those roommates, then you start having drama. And once you have drama, you start dating. Oh gosh, dating. And then you keep on going on more dates. So many dates, and it never stops. Then you got to meet her family, and she's got to meet your family. Then you start meeting her friends, your friends, all of that. Then you get engaged, and then finally, then you can get married. Now, life does not stop there, obviously. Just because we got married does not mean our lives are over. That just now starts, really. First, now we have careers. We have to think about where we're going to stay. Are we going to stay in our careers? Are we making enough money? Are we going to have kids? If so, how many kids? 1 kid? 2 kid? 3 kid? I don't know. 1 fish, 2 fish, blue fish, whatever. We got to think, are we going to stay in a public school? Private school? Maybe homeschool, if we're really daring. Then we got to think, all the bills. Health insurance, car insurance, medical bills, phone bills, student loans, student loans, student loans, student loans, student loans, so many student loans. It's overwhelming. Life can be very overwhelming. We can all relate to this. I'm sorry, it's very distracting. This whole floor is covered in baseballs. But I'm fairly confident at some point in your life, everyone has been anxious or felt stressed because of one of those things that I mentioned. And I skipped over so many. I apologize. But I didn't want us to stress us out too much. But if we acknowledge that all of us tonight have gone through momentary or topical anxiety. But there is a difference. There are 2 different types of anxiety. There is that topical momentary anxiety based off these things or just everyday things. I get nervous before I talk, just like this. But there's also another type of anxiety, but we'll get there. Because you see, the moment Brittany and I walked down that aisle, all of that stress and anxiety from the wedding just melted away. We're walking back, we are married, we are done. We have finished the day. We could just have fun after that. And that's the way that it works for most of us. There are things in life that stress us out, and then when it's over, we are done. That list is usually short for most of us. And when that event is past, the thing that's making us feel that way is over, so is the stress and anxiety. I want you to know that's valid, and that's okay when you feel that way sometimes. And there are also here people that you can talk to about that everyday stress and anxiety. We want to hear from you. That is a very important part of your mental health. That momentary anxiety is something that everyone struggles with at some point. This series is a series on mental health, and in that, managing our stress and momentary anxiety is very important. But for the rest of us, for the rest of tonight, I want to focus on the other side of anxiety. I want to focus on those for whom anxiety is a much bigger issue. For those who are in constant struggle with anxiety. Those who suffer from panic attacks, from social anxiety disorders, general anxiety disorder, or any other kind of anxiety-related issues. Now, I don't have any kind of anxiety disorder that I know of. And because of that, I am automatically at a disadvantage when it comes to talking about this tonight. That said, it is something that is extremely important to me, because while I myself have not struggled with it, I am very close to someone who has, and that's my sister. And I knew if I wanted to get this right, that I needed her opinion on this, her insight on this. So I talked with her, and she has given me permission to share her story tonight. Before I do, I want to preface this by saying this is her story. This is her experience with her anxiety. While I hope that it is helpful to all of us, I also acknowledge that everyone's story looks different. And what she says, her feelings, and her thoughts may not be true for you. But I hope that by sharing this tonight, someone, at least most of us, can be helped from it. So I'm going to share what she wrote now. I have been diagnosed with general anxiety disorder, social anxiety disorder, caused by a chemical imbalance in my brain. Although these disorders are overlapping in symptoms, Both are very different. My general anxiety is what keeps me up at night. It causes my mind to always be in flight or fight. I have hundreds of what-if scenarios that run through my head every single day. It's as if someone were to make a recording of your greatest fears and worries on your phone, and that is the only thing you're allowed to listen to constantly on repeat. It's what causes my random panic attacks that at most of the time I don't see coming. One minute I could be watching a movie or playing with my dog, and the next I'm overcome with a fear and I begin to cry because the only thought that in my head is that both of my parents would die in a car crash on the way home from work. On top of random panic attacks, my anxiety can sometimes take something most see as small and make it all I can think about. This past Thanksgiving, as we traveled to see family, a quick comment was made about how someone may have left the coffee pot on, and that was all it took. The whole day from 8 a.m. until we got back home at 9, I couldn't stop thinking about the house burning down because of that coffee pot. I kept asking my dad if he was sure that it wouldn't catch fire, if he was positive that it would be all right, and as many times as he said yes, I could not stop worrying about it. My social anxiety is what keeps me from going anywhere where other people will be. It could be something as simple as walking through the store, and the whole time my heart is racing, I'm sweating, and at times I even start to twitch. I feel as though everyone is watching me, waiting for me to mess up, waiting for me to walk funny or do something out of the ordinary. If you've ever gotten nervous giving a presentation or a speech, then you understand what it's like to have all eyes on you. Now imagine that times 10, and that's how I feel in every single social situation I've ever been in. My families must prepare me weeks ahead of time for any social situation, whether a party or any kind of get-together or any new people in general. Because if you spring something like that on me, there's a good chance that I'll have an anxiety attack. Most of the time I understand that I shouldn't be as stressed out about the situation as I am, but that doesn't keep the panic from coming in. Recently I was in a situation where I was all by myself, meaning there was no family member and my best friend was not there, and I had to meet new people. Even though part of me knew these people were nice, that there wasn't much I could do wrong and there wasn't much that could go wrong, some part of my brain disagreed. Before going inside, I waited in my car, physically unable to move. So many thoughts were going through my head, and I wasn't even sure what the thoughts were. I was so stressed out about it, and I actually threw up before I was able to head inside. The whole time that I was there, I was sweating. I felt sick to my stomach, and part of me just wanted to cry. Nothing bad had happened, nothing bad did happen. Logically speaking, there was no reason for me to be stressed out as I was, but I still was. Most of the time, there is no sound or logical reasoning to my panic, but that doesn't mean it is invalid. Many people, most people, don't truly understand what it's like to have anxiety, and a good portion of those people, from what I've seen, are the ones in the church. Over the years, I've had many conversations with people in church about how they couldn't understand why I didn't and why I can't just cast my worries on Jesus. I've even had people question my relationship with God because they couldn't understand how I could be going through all of this and still have a good relationship with Him. And after hearing that for a while, I started to think there was something wrong with me, that I was doing something wrong. I started to think that I was possibly a bad Christian because of my mental health issues. That is the end of what she wrote, but that is not the end of her story. Fortunately, she understands that her mental health issues do not automatically mean that she does not have a good relationship with God. We've been blessed with the ability to talk about a lot of these issues, and she is in a very good place right now. She feels like she's in a good place with her faith. I will come back to her story later in the evening, and hopefully from what we've talked about and what she has from her experience, we will be able to share some advice about how we as the church, how we as God's people can continue to support and reach out to people who feel anxiety, as well as some advice for those that are struggling with anxiety right now from someone who understands. But as I said, that's her story and not the only one that I want to share tonight. I'm sure we can agree that it would be nice to see what God has to say about anxiety, how He would work with someone who is struggling with it. So if you have a Bible, or if you want to, open up in your phone Bible maybe, you can open up to Exodus 3, and we'll be looking at the story of Moses and the burning bush. Before we get right into the story, I want to give a little background on Moses. He experienced a lot of trauma in his life. He was taken from his parents as a child, adopted by Pharaoh's daughter, and because of this, Moses has a continued struggle throughout his life of identity. He sees himself as an Israelite, but his people will not accept him. Moses is both unwelcome in the Egyptian circles as well as the Israelite circles. We see him kill an Egyptian man, trying to defend a Hebrew man, and when Pharaoh is informed of this, Moses is forced to flee. He then spends 40 years away from Egypt, expressing no desire to return, and he has a rough life. But when God calls him back, it triggers that deep anxiety in Moses. He has no desire to return to Egypt and to go through that again. So I just want us to kind of look at how God addressed those feelings that Moses had. So I'll be starting in chapter 3, verse 11. But Moses said to God, "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt?" And God said, "I will be with you, and this will be the sign to you that it is I who have sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you will worship God on this mountain." Moses said to God, "Suppose that I go to the Israelites and say to them, 'The God of our fathers has been sent to you, and they ask me, what is his name? Then what shall I tell them?' God says to Moses, 'I am who I am. This is what you are to say to the Israelites. I am has sent me to you.'" I'm going to skip the rest of the chapter. God gives Moses a long list of instructions and promises. So we're just going to go straight to chapter 4 if you're reading along. Starting in verse 1, Moses answered, "What if they do not believe me or listen to me and say, 'The Lord did not appear to you'?" Then the Lord said to him, "What do you have in your hand?" "A staff," he replied. The Lord said, "Throw it on the ground." Moses threw it to the ground, and it became a snake, and he ran from it. Then the Lord said to him, "Reach out your hand and take it by the tail." So Moses reached out and took hold of the snake, and it turned back into a staff in his hand. "This," said the Lord, "is so they may believe that the Lord, the God of their fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, has appeared to you." Then the Lord said, "Put your hand inside of your cloak." So Moses put his hand into his cloak, and when it came out, his skin was leprous. It had become white as snow. "Now put it back in your cloak," he said. So Moses put his hands back in his cloak, and when he took it out, it was restored, like the rest of his flesh. Then the Lord said, "If they do not believe you or pay attention to the first sign, they may believe the second. But if they do not believe these two signs or listen to you, take some water from the Nile and pour it on the dry ground. The water from the river will become blood on the ground." Moses said to the Lord, "Pardon your servant, Lord. I have never been eloquent, neither in the past nor since you have spoken to your servant. I am slow of speech and tongue." The Lord said to him, "Who gave human beings their mouths? Who made them deaf or mute? Who gives them the sight or makes them blind? Is it not I, the Lord? Now go. I will help you speak and will teach you what to say." But Moses said, "Pardon your servant, Lord. Please send someone else." When the Lord's anger burned against Moses, he said, "What about your brother, Aaron the Levite? Now I know he can speak well. He is already on his way to meet you and will be glad to see you. You shall speak to him and put words in his mouth. I will help both of you speak and will teach you what to do. He will speak to the people for you, and it will be as if your mouth as if it were God's to him. But you take this staff in your hand so that you can perform the signs with it." So we see God ask Moses to return to Egypt and free his people. But Moses instantly begins to question that call. First, we see him doubt that he's good enough to do it. He says, "Who am I to go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt?" We see God encourage him, saying that he will be with Moses this whole time. Then Moses asks what he should do, what he should say to them, what he should tell them. God responds with an outline of exactly what his plan is and what will happen. But Moses continues to question the situation, asking, what should he do if they don't believe him? God gives him the 3 miracles that he can use to prove that what he's saying is true. Moses turns it back to himself, saying, "Well, I'm not a good speaker. I'm ineloquent and slow to speak." God says, "Okay, I will send someone else with you, and you can speak through them." At no point do we see God dismiss his questions. He listens and answers every single one of them. I believe this is because God knew Moses. He knew he had an anxious heart, and he knew how to help him. By looking at the story of Moses, and from talking to my sister and her story, we hope that we came up with a couple things, some bits of advice that we want to share, something to share with those who are both struggling with anxiety and to share with those who want to help those with anxiety. So for those who want to help, first we have to acknowledge their struggle. With many things, once you acknowledge something, it loses a piece of its power. It becomes a little bit easier to face. Unfortunately, as the church, we have avoided the subject of mental illness for so long. We have tried not to acknowledge it, and have thus given it even more power. Faith should not be ignoring facts, and the fact is that some people, because of genetics or trauma, cannot help but be anxious. We're talking about anxiety, but this rings true for all mental illnesses and any mental health issues. The longer we avoid it, the more we give it over to the enemy to use against us, and even use it to take people away from us. So acknowledge the struggle. That's the start. After that, Seek to understand, not to be understood. In simpler terms, and I apologize, shut up and listen. For those that are anxious, especially those with social anxiety, it is already so difficult for them to get to the point where they're willing to share their struggles. If we dominate the conversation, if we talk over them, or belittle what they have to say, we are not helping at all. Now, there is room for us to speak into people's lives. My sister has commented on how it is very nice to hear people in her life also get anxious, especially those that she looks up to know that they, in some way, can, in a small part, grasp what she feels. The problem becomes when we begin to undermine their experiences with our own. Just because you have a story of overcoming the same obstacle easily or your way, it does not mean that it will help them. But it is okay to share some of what you have to say in their lives, but please do not undermine what they are going through. Their struggle is not your own. So seek to understand, not be understood. Another point for those that want to help is to equip and encourage, but do not force, do not push. We see God do this with Moses in our story. God answers all of Moses' questions. God gives him the tools to use in the form of miracles. God encourages him. He even sends someone else with him. God could have easily just said, first sentence, go to Egypt, and left. Bush, not on fire anymore. No more talking. And left with that, but he did not. He gave Moses everything that he could. And when Moses said he still couldn't do it, he gave someone to go for him. For my sister, I have seen her get set back months, maybe even years, in her struggle with anxiety because someone in her life pushed her to do something she was not ready for. Because people didn't understand where she was, and they forced her to do something that was way beyond what step she was in her path along anxiety. And it is detrimental. And it's not something I ever want to see again. And that is something we need to work on as the church and as children of Christ. Now I'm going to shift a little bit. For those who are in this season of anxiety or who are dealing with this as a lifelong issue. First of all, and most importantly, anxiety is not a lack of faith. This is the point my sister was most insistent about. See, over the years, so many people, so many Christians have accused her of lacking faith because she still has anxiety. I want to tell anyone dealing with an anxiety disorder, like her, that that is not always the case. The two may, in some cases, be connected, but please do not assume that you cannot have a beautiful relationship with Jesus because you have anxiety. In my sister's case, the thing that was most harmful to her faith was not the anxiety itself, but people telling her that she was a bad Christian because she could not control her own brain chemistry. So for those that have been told the same thing, do not believe it. You can love Jesus and still struggle with a medical condition. We see this in Moses' story too. God never questions Moses' faith. He works with him, through him, and is in relationship with him regardless of his struggles. If God doesn't question the faith of a man who can't help but feel anxious, how can we? Next, remember that anxiety may describe you, but it does not define you. For those with anxiety, just because you can't do things that other people can do with ease, or just because your anxiety does not go away instantly, does not mean that you're a weak or less than. It means that you may have to work a little bit harder and take a little bit longer than some, but that is okay. My sister is still struggling with her anxiety, but it is not who she is. She's a musician. She's an artist. She loves animals. She loves hiking. She loves the outdoors. She loves volunteering her time. She loves giving gifts to people. Most importantly, she is my sister and she is a child of God. At no point on that list would I include anxiety, because that does not define who she is. The same is true for Moses. You could describe him as anxious, but that is not who he is. He is the man who led his people out of slavery. We see in Numbers chapter 12, God actually comes down and says that while he usually speaks to his prophets in dreams or riddles, Moses is so faithful, in fact, that he talks to him face to face. That's who Moses was. So for those in that place, remember that anxiety may describe you, but that is not who you are. Finally, the last point I want to give is that anxiety is meant to be shared. This is really a point for both those that want to help and those that are struggling. So anxieties are meant to be shared, but for someone who is constantly anxious, this may look different person to person. There is a reason that I am here sharing my sister's story tonight. Not because she doesn't want to share it, but because she is not at the place in which she can share it in this platform. And that is okay. But she knew her story could help someone if she wrote it down, and she let me share it. So this may look different for different people. But to quote my sister specifically, find a way to share, voice your anxieties in some form, even if you just tell your pet. So that's my challenge to everyone tonight. If you are struggling with anxiety, then find an outlet for your anxieties. It may be a close friend, a mentor, a mental health professional, a pet, even a prayer. It could be verbal, written, artistic, or something else. My hope is that you are just working towards sharing your story in some form. For those that want to help more, think of a name tonight and reach out to that person. Sometimes you are the sign they are looking for, a text, a call, a note, or a conversation. However you think it's best received. I'll actually end with a bit of a funny story that my sister shared with me about how something like this could help. She, at one point, needed to check herself into a mental health facility, and she had kind of hit rock bottom, and it was the time that we almost lost her. But she was actually alone in the hospital bed one night. Everyone had gone home for the evening, and from down the hall, she heard some sort of machine cut on. She had no idea what it was at the time. And then, blaring across the speakers, full karaoke style, with one of the strangest men's voices she had ever heard, came Oceans, just blaring out. And this was not a Christian facility in any way, shape, or form, but someone thought it'd be fun to sing Oceans in karaoke style. Do not suggest that, by the way. She said it was absolutely terrible. So shout out to that guy, you tried, and that's important. But that spoke to her that night. That guy had no idea, but he was just willing to make a stand. He did not have anxiety, obviously. He was willing to stand up and do something fun that spoke to her, even though he didn't realize it. So that's my challenge to each of you tonight. If you're experiencing that anxiety, find someone that you trust, find some form to reach out to them with, to share those anxieties. And if not, maybe you're the guy that's supposed to be willing to stand up and do karaoke for someone. Whatever it looks like, just find some way to help someone. And that's where I'll end this evening. So I will pray for us, and then I think we're going to encourage you guys to look at those questions and to just break into groups. So let's pray. Lord, I thank you for this evening, that we have the opportunity and the capability to continue really coming together as a body to talk about these tough subjects, to tackle this issue of mental health, and to really reevaluate how we should be approaching it as a church, as a group of people. I pray that those that are struggling tonight do find that outlet, do find a way to share what they're going through, but also realize that their anxieties, because of where they are, have nothing to do with their faith possibly, that you still love them and want to be in full relationship with them. For those that want to know how to help, again, just put on their hearts that person that they need to reach out to, that person that maybe they've forgotten about or that they know doesn't like to come to the big events. Find a way for them to reach them. Maybe meet up for coffee or just send them a text, whatever it may look like. Lord, just put that on their hearts tonight. Ultimately, I just ask that you continue to walk with us as we go through this series, as we continue to tackle so many difficult things that so many people struggle with. I just ask that you continue to speak through us and through just everyone involved with CCVT, and that the discussion that happens after this, just to remind people, this is not the end of the discussion, this is just the beginning. What I said tonight was only meant to start a conversation, not to be the full thing. So I just pray over that, Lord, ask that you just bless that time of discussion. And ultimately, it's in your son's name I pray. Amen.